Hey, it's Lawrence here, bringing you another episode on high intensity business. Hope you're doing well. In this episode, we had a Q&A roundtable with Luke Carlson, who's the founder and CEO of Discover Strength, Inform Fitness founder Adam Zickerman, and Strength Shop founder Melinda Hughes. This was like a part two to the Q&A roundtable we did earlier on this year, which you'll be able to find in the show notes for this or on highintensitybusiness.com. And that was really in response to, obviously, this virus pandemic and the effect it was having on the fitness industry and, causing things like lockdowns and things like that, and COVID-19 cleaning protocols that we all had to adhere to, and social distancing protocols and things like that. And obviously it was a scary time, and it still is a pretty scary time for a lot of fitness owners and operators out there. And that Q&A was really popular. There were lots of attendees and lots of great questions asked, and there were lots of wonderful solutions shared by the roundtable guests. And some of them have done so well in terms of pivoting and adapting to change this year and driving results in things like virtual training, for example. So really the purpose of this Q&A was to get an update from the same guests, bar Skylar, who couldn't join us this time, unfortunately, and really find out what they're doing now, how they're performing, what are they changing in their business, how are they planning for the future, how are they doing in terms of the virtual training side of things, and what are they changing in terms of COVID-19 protocols. There are tons of tips and strategies and solutions that you can take from this episode to implement in your own business. So very excited for you to listen to this one today. Once you're finished with the episode, please head on over to highintensitybusiness.com/tactics to get access to free resources to help you start and grow your high intensity training business. And also remember to subscribe on your favorite platform so you are updated on a weekly basis as we release new episodes. And without any further ado, please enjoy this Q&A roundtable with Adam Zickerman, Luke Carlson, and Melinda Hughes. Firstly, welcome everyone to the live Q&A. This is called How to Make Your Hit Business Thrive in 2020 and Beyond. I'm sure we're going to be talking about a lot of the challenges that the panelists have been through these last 9 months or so, or 6 months, probably more accurate, in relation to COVID-19 and the impacts it's had on business. And I think what I'm hoping to get out of this, I'm sure we will get out of this, is some tips, some strategies, some mindset and principles that can help us all have more success in 2020 and beyond. So I just want to say a massive thank you to all the panelists. I know you guys are super busy running your businesses, and I'm very grateful for you all taking the time out of your day to be on this today. I really am grateful for that. And thank you for everyone in attendance as well. Just a very quick introduction for the guests. So we've got Luke Carlson, who's CEO and founder of Discover Strength, Adam Zickerman, who is CEO and founder of Inform Fitness, and Melinda Hughes, who is CEO and founder of Strength Shop. Thank you all for joining me today. Now, to all the attendants, please, if you've got a question, please type it in the Q&A box, and I will actually read your question out to the panelists. If you want to direct it to someone specifically, please say that in the question. And to all the panelists, just like last time, which I thought was a great dynamic, if I do direct a question to Luke or Melinda or whoever, if you've got a comment or you want to chime in, or if you want to ask a question, please feel free to do so and interrupt me. I'll always try and leave a pause so that we have opportunity to do that, but I don't always remember to do that. And just for everyone in attendance and on the panel, this will be published on the public show as episode 293, so just bear that in mind. And if any of you see me waving like a crazy person on my camera, it's because I've got a timer on the lighting, and I'm just switching the lights on, so don't be worried, I'm not losing my mind. It's just, for some reason, my lights go off in this office unpredictably at the moment. And that's it for an introduction. So let's get straight into this, shall we? So guys, feel free to ask any questions using the Q&A feature on Zoom, and you can just type your question there and I will ask those to the appropriate people. And forgive me for some of my technical challenges I'm having. I'm still sort of learning how to do the Q&A webinar on Zoom. But just to kick things off, I'd like an update from you all. So Luke, you're the person I'm looking at right now on video. So do you want to give us an update on what's going on there in terms of, I guess, how COVID-19 and the policies are affecting business, and how business is for you right now?
So I think that the first comment is, every state, every part of the country in the US is in a very different spot. I am in a very different spot than Adam or Melinda. They are in the extremes in terms of difficult cities or difficult states, is my perception. I'm in Minnesota. We're, a little bit more opened up. So business has been pretty good. All of our studios are open. We are doing about 19% of our business virtual. The rest of it, a little over 80%, is in studio. We're back to kind of previous levels right now. So not in studio, but if you combine virtual in studio, we're back to our previous performances. And the last quarter three that just wrapped up, was our best quarter in company history, if you look at just total revenue. So we still have some challenges. We have a downtown Minneapolis location that's hasn't really come back in the same way, because people are not downtown like they used to be from a work standpoint. We have 2 new studios that will open in the next month. So that's a big project that's on the horizon right now. So that's kind of our snapshot of where we're at. But all of that is within the context of things in Minnesota are just a little bit different than they are in California and New York. And I'm sure our other 2 guests can go into more detail on that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you, Luke. And Adam, do you want to give us an update?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Luke. Yeah, so I have locations in different environments. I have New York City, Manhattan. I have the suburbs of Long Island, and I have out of state. I have some suburbs in the Washington, D.C. Area, as well as Northern California, which is on fire right now. Not the studio itself, but Northern California. So we're looking at 4 completely different situations that I'm dealing with right now, which makes things certainly interesting. I go to Manhattan, which is a ghost town, essentially. Nobody's working in Manhattan. Real estate values have plummeted. Mass transportation is really low as far as occupancy, which means the city is just bleeding money. It's people are talking, will New York ever survive this, actually? That's the kind of conversations that I was only a kid when they were talking about how bad New York was. That's how long ago New York was in the kind of state that it's actually in right now. It's quiet. It's eerily quiet, the streets. I mean, my place is in Midtown Manhattan, and at lunchtime, you're bumping shoulder to shoulder with people, on the sidewalk. Now it's at lunchtime. It looks like a Sunday. Having said that, there's opportunity there. A lot of gyms went. Hate to say this, but a lot of gyms went out of business. As a sole personal training center, we're benefiting from that. We're getting people that don't have their gyms anymore, and they don't want to go to a gym anyway. If they happen to be in the city, they don't want to go to the gym. They're too scared to go to an actual gym, despite the precautions that all the places are making. And our city has to inspect our places. We couldn't open up until we got inspected. We had to have the right filters. We had to have enough signage. We had to close our locker rooms. We had to make sure that we were at 33% capacity max. So we have to operate 33% of what we're allowed, that we were running at. Truth be told, it almost doesn't make a difference, because we wouldn't be, given the fact that there's a ghost town in New York City, I don't think we'd, even if we were allowed to be at 75%, I don't think we'd even be at 75%, although it's building. We are at the 33%, that we're allowed to be at. We have room in different parts of the day. But again, it's building. And my landlord, which is the other key to the New York City location, my landlord is working with us and continues to work with us. As a 20-year tenant at this point, he doesn't want to see me go. He doesn't have any options anyway. He's not going to find anyone else to take my space. No one's coming to New York right now, except for some speculation, some opportunists. But for the most part, prices are coming down and there's a lot of space available. My Long Island location, just the opposite. we're booming. Everyone's home. We live in an area where people live. So this is not a city. This is not where people work. We're a town. We're a suburb town of New York City, and an affluent one at that. So people can afford personal training, and they don't want to go to gyms either. They're all home, and I personally have a waiting list to train with me, and my other trainers are just constantly adding. So I couldn't be happier about that. And similar things are happening in the Virginia locations because those are the suburbs as well. And of course, Northern California has its own set of problems. So that's pretty much the overall of Informed Fitness.
Thank you, Adam, and pleased to hear. I think there are some positive news to report there. Melinda, do you want to give us an update on what's happening where you are?
Okay. So I have 2 studios in Los Angeles County, one in Pasadena and one in Los Angeles proper near downtown. Los Angeles County fitness studios are closed. They have been closed since March. So we are more than 6 months now. We're going on 7 months, I think, of being closed. Obviously, with 2 locations being closed for 7 months, that's not something that you bounce back from. So I knew that after about 3 months. And I also had clients of mine who, especially in Pasadena, where our demographic is older, who rely on us for pain management and rely on us for quality of life and just being able to live their lives. Like our clients in their 80s and 90s, who really wanted us to open back up. So I joined forces with a chiropractor, and through my chiropractor, I'm now, both my locations are satellite locations of his chiropractic business. We are open as an essential business offering physical therapy. So that started in late May, and both of my locations have been open since. So we closed for a solid 3 months, both locations, and then we reopened as essential businesses in providing physical therapy in a limited capacity. We are only training 1 client at a time. I am the main trainer. I do have 3 staff members who are back. I have 3 staff members who are not back. 3? Yeah. And then I had 1 that I let go. Let's see. Yeah, my landlords are not working with me. The full rent is due for the full amount of time. The climate is different in LA than it sounds like it is in New York. In that businesses are closing left and right, like neighbors are flying out of the buildings, and then new businesses are taking their place. So the landlords in Los Angeles, our market, our real estate market has not dropped. It is up, up, up. Like, so people are, I think the landlord, I know that some businesses, the landlords have worked with some businesses because I have other, colleagues that work in that have high intensity businesses in Los Angeles County. But it seems like our landlord is looking forward to getting higher paying renters into the building if the current renters leave. So yeah, so we, the strength shop is luckily, due to our essential status, chugging along and rebuilding. We have about, I would say 60% of our pre-COVID clientele training either in studio or online. And that is enough to sustain us. So we're kind of like in this limbo area where we're just kind of waiting for everything to open back up so we could really rebuild and, bring the rest of the staff back and jump back to pre-COVID status, which I do think we will do fairly easily because, like Adam mentioned, all the gyms are closed. Like the spinning places have gone out of business. Studios have closed. I do think that there are a lot of Pilates places that are surviving because I think LA county says if you can exercise outside, you can operate. And there's a lot of Pilates studios that have moved their reformers outside in order to operate. So one of my landlords said at one point, "Why don't you move your equipment out to the parking lot?" And I was like, "No, that is the craziest. No, that does not work. The MedX equipment is not going to be moved out into the parking lot tomorrow." So yeah, so that's our little update. We obviously are not open as a fitness studio or a workout studio, so I can't advertise us as such. So we are not getting the benefit of our one-on-one training being safer than a large gym. But I do expect that when we are permitted to open, that we will see those type of people coming in.
Thank you for that, Melinda. Just a very quick follow-up question on what you said there.
Yeah.
In terms of like, there's some fascinating we said about the real estate situation with companies, having to leave premises and going out of business and their spots being filled very quickly. Is that due to, I guess, some of the companies that may be more immune to this situation, like a lot of the tech companies who are actually, many of which are growing very fast during this time for obvious reasons? Is that because they are taking that space, or is it another reason entirely?
From what I see in through my neighbors, the people in both of the buildings that I'm in, it's businesses that have been there, sadly, for like 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. And so they may not be paying as much as they're not paying as much as a new renter would be paying. So when they fell on hard times and our landlords are like, "Yeah, sorry, we need the full amount for every single month, 2020, full amount." They couldn't sustain that because we're still closed. So they closed their doors, and then new businesses that can pay those prices, I don't know. The new businesses that have moved in have been a boba tea place, which can obviously still do, you walk up and get your boba tea and then leave because it's a restaurant. You can still do takeout. And then hair extensions is opening up in my building. I don't know. I don't know why somebody's opening a brick and mortar business in this climate, but whatever. Businesses that went out were a kid's hair cutting place that's been in the community for like forever. People come in to the strength shop and they're like, "I got my kid's hair cut," and their kids are like 40 now, and then a currency place went out of business. And then just a ton of beauty services. Nail salons just opened a couple days ago in LA County, but those businesses are, we're suffering a lot.
Sure. Well, I was incredibly wrong in that assumption then, but that's really fascinating to hear. For everyone who's in attendance, please do ask your questions, and you can do that via the Q&A feature on Zoom. You just type your question and I will direct that to the most, or who I feel might be the most appropriate panelist to answer, or a panelist, or you can be more specific with who you want to answer that question. So this is obviously a great opportunity to ask, free high intensity training owners, operators who are in very different situations and having sort of varied success, what they're doing during this time and how they're planning going forward. So you can be real nuanced in the type of questions you want to answer. I wanted to start talking a bit about, virtuals for a little bit, and going back to you, Luke. Do you want to describe what's happened on the virtual front since we all spoke during the last live Q&A?
Well, when we discussed this initially, we had to pivot to virtual, right? It's the only revenue that we had. Workout was still 30 minutes. We went with a slightly reduced price point, and the focus was to get as many of our clients to switch to virtual as possible, that was our obsession for 3 months, right? Well, then our studios opened, and we had a high percentage of people slowly move back to studios. And then some people say, "I am not ready to move back to studios." And then some people said, "Well, I'll go in the studio maybe once a week and I'll go virtual once a week." So the virtual continues to exist. for people who are not comfortable coming into studios, or for people who want to complement their studio visits. Maybe it's because they're traveling or they spend their time at the cabin over the course of the summer. So virtual continues to be strong. I will be totally honest that I don't think we've grown virtual as much as I think we should have grown virtual over the last 3 months. So our virtual is strong, but it's mainly clients that have just stopped going to the studio and moved to virtual. I have to be totally honest that we just don't have a massive growth in virtual. We had a big goal last quarter 3, to add 50 new virtual clients, and we did not achieve that goal. We added like 33 new virtual clients, and so that was really disappointing to us. I thought in this time period it was going to be easy to add new virtual clients. So we're not good at adding new virtual clients, relatively speaking, but it's still a big percentage of our overall business.
What do you think was the reason why it was more challenging than you expected to attract virtual? That's new clients, not just existing studio clients who wanted to go
Correctly,
virtual.
it's new clients is what we're struggling with. So I think one of the reasons we get new clients to our studio is referral and word of mouth. And that word of mouth, if you really understand word of mouth comes from some remarkable operational element of your business that people are compelled to talk about, whether or not they know what it is. I mean, they're talking about the same things over and over. So you could call this a talk trigger, right? So you're giving someone a reason to comment about the service. We have those in the studio.
Luke, I think you might have muted yourself. Oh no, you haven't. That's just me. I've got to change my headphones. Please continue.
Okay, so I'm not sure if we have those.
Sorry, Luke, I just got back in my audio then.
Yeah, I just wrapped up right when you came back. So I think it's the lack of talk trigger that's occurring potentially in that session that compels someone to refer somebody else. And then I think from a paid standpoint, if you want to do any paid marketing around virtual, man, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's tough because there's just so much virtual stuff out there. And right away, the consumer's like, there's tons of free streaming stuff that I could do. Why would I spend? I just think it's tough to have a really effective paid campaign to drive your virtual. I think it's got to largely come from referrals and word of mouth. That's my opinion at this point.
Great. Thank you for that. Just to reiterate to all the attendees, please type your question in the Q&A feature, or you know what, if you want to type a question in the chat, that's fine as well. I see Kiri's just wrote a message in there for everyone. Or if you want to raise a hand, I'm quite happy to unmute you so you can actually talk and ask a question to the panelists. So I'll give you all of the different ways in which we can get this Q&A underway. At the moment, there's no questions. So a lot of you are listening passively. I appreciate that. And I'm just going to continue with some of the questions I have here. So, Adam, do you want to just elaborate on the virtual situation since the last live Q&A, your side?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Luke in the sense that virtuals have a lot of competition in that realm. I mean, very high technology, very polished videos and stuff like that, you know, you just can't prepare in 6 months when you all of a sudden pivot the way we all did. However, and word of mouth is always how we grow ultimately in a big way. You know, we're always getting new clients in, but it's a lot cheaper to keep clients and to keep getting new ones. So we spend a lot of time on making sure that the clients that we do get stay and they're taken care of, and they start referring, and that's always, you know, the way you grow your business. And again, referrals for virtuals or paid advertisement for virtuals I also see as tough. I haven't tried it, but what I am doing is talking about it a lot on my podcast, social media to an extent, that it exists, and I'm talking about it actually to my existing clients as well. And because my podcast has grown pretty well, I'm so pleasantly surprised about how well the listenership of my podcast has become. And it's all over the world. So what's interesting is I'm getting a lot of interest for virtual workouts from other countries, people that are listening to podcasts in countries. I'm making myself available, to train somebody virtually, not so much to maintain them as a long-term client, although some of them are actually turning into that, it looks like, but really just for them to have an opportunity to do a workout with somebody with my experience and expertise in this niche of high intensity training, that they've been listening to the podcast for years, they've been following high intensity training and all the advocates for years. And a lot of people welcome the opportunity, even if it's not on MedX equipment or fancy retrofitted super slow stuff. I've been saying on my podcast that, it's not so much the equipment, although that's the Rolls Royce, but of course it's how you use dumbbells. It's how you program these workouts. It's how you actually make a very high intensity workout safe with dumbbells, with free weights, with body weights. And then of course, taking the individual into account and all their issues and how to work around that. It's harder to work somebody virtually, quite honestly, than when you have all the best tools available,
Yeah. And sorry, Adam, go on.
Well, and
Yep.
so I keep talking about that it's not so much about the equipment, but it's really still how to really pick my brain on how to do a virtual workout really well with whatever they have available with whatever issues they have. And it's appealed to a lot of people. I'm doing a lot of international virtual workouts, and I'm charging top dollar because, it's me. And I really don't have, I've also, like Melinda, I've before COVID, I weaned myself off my own client base, and I just kept my longest clients that won't train with anybody else, and no matter how much I charge them, they'll still train with me. So I weaned myself down to about 35 sessions a week, which probably still sounds like a lot to people, but given that I came from the world of training 80 to 100 a week, 35 feels like nothing. And then I focus on the business after that. I'm back. With all the international virtuals that I'm doing and the people that have come back and the built up business on Long Island, I'm back up to almost 70, 75 workouts a week again, personally. And I love it and I'm grateful for it. But, it's not where I thought I'd be right now, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. In any case, so the virtuals are never going to be, I don't think, and to Luke's point, there's a lot of other companies out there that's all they focus on. I don't see virtuals as being a huge percentage of my business, but it's definitely here to stay. And we're good at it, my team is really good at it. And people go on vacation, they still do the workout. When somebody went on vacation in the past, they might not work out for a week, but now we can still do a virtual with them. People that, can't make their scheduled appointment for whatever reason, maybe they can do it tomorrow at a virtual, So all of a sudden it became an option, a viable option to keep people consistent, which is really more important than anything else, consistency, especially if you're working out once a week. So that's helped, and I think in the long run, as our business builds back, particularly in New York City, we're going to be better than ever. We're going to have a robust personal training business and a very good supplemental virtual training business, And I think it will be 80-20%. I think that's what Luke said, approximately 80-20%. I might get up to 25-30% with the virtuals, just by virtue of the fact that, I have this podcast and I'm going to push that hard now that I see that it's working. So I'm going to bring it up some more. And I do have an international audience, which I'm fortunate to have. So anyway, so that's my take on the virtuals right now.
Let me just ask you a quick follow up on that. I've been loving your podcast lately, Adam. I've been listening to it on the car most days, listening to you and Robert Francis talk about saunas, and you and Mike talk about virtual sessions and your experience with that. And I think you guys are doing a great job, and I've been learning from you guys lately.
Thank you.
Tell me about, Melinda, I do obviously want to ask you about virtual, but I'd love to hear just a little bit more on, so you're seeing a fair amount of leads for virtual generated via the podcast as well. Is that correct?
I am. I actually am. And I wasn't. I mean, I've had my podcast out for a couple of years now. And it's really been the last 6 months that the subscribership has really jumped up. I don't know why, quite honestly, because I'm not a marketing maven. I just like putting content out there and seeing what happens. I don't have this huge marketing strategy for it. I know I should, but I don't.
Lawrence, can I weigh in on one thing that Adam said?
Go on. Yeah.
What?
So I think that I think that Adam has a advantage that the rest of us don't have, that generally your listeners don't have, and I think he's smart to play to it. I mean, he's got the podcast, but he's got a level of celebrity that like maybe 3 people in our space have, and I think that he's got to play to it. And I actually think that the rest of us, and this is not supposed to be a depressing message, we probably can't learn from him. And we could try to convince ourselves that we're a celebrity at the level that he is, but we're just not. And so I think I can only name like 3 people in our space that could do virtuals, and the name by itself would demand a certain price point and a desire to get on the schedule, and Adam's got it. So what Adam's doing is awesome. I'm trying to think about everything Adam's saying and everything that Melinda will go through, and like, what can I steal for my own business? Well, that's something I'm not going to steal because I don't have any celebrities as trainers. And so I don't think we can capitalize on it the same way Adam can. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I really respect that and appreciate you chiming in on that one, Luke. No, I hear your point, and I still think it's interesting. I still think that, okay, maybe you're right, Luke, but maybe one can build authority over time, and maybe not a short-term solution by any means, but building authority over time through podcast, or select your medium of choice in order to then generate virtual inquiries. But I don't know if that's...
I think the takeaway, I didn't start out by having a reputation like that, or, I mean, and there's probably more of an impression of the fact that I'm a celebrity than there actually is the reality of. I'm yesterday's news as far as the media is concerned. I had my run in the early 2000s. I'm not getting called up by the media anymore to do a story on this unique technique anymore. Having said that, the point, because I think Luke's right, we should be talking about things that the basic gym owner could use. And yes, I am capitalizing on a certain aspect of notoriety in the field, being in the field 20 years, having the book, having the podcast. But having said that, without harping on it too much longer, content, you can become an expert no matter who you are. All right. There's a lot of smart guys out there and women out there that know what they're talking about. And, instead of focusing so much on whether, when I started all this, when I wrote my book, everything, it's just like, I wanted to put information out there, and we can all put information out there, and maybe people are going to listen to you if it's good information, if it's well written, if it's well presented and thoughtful and current, because there's so much crap out there that you don't have to be famous to stick out amongst all that crap. It just has to be good. And that's what I do. My last podcast was about the physical education system in the United States and how our children are being really deprived of good physical education nowadays. It's just a topic that I think people should know about. And I don't know what's going to happen from that. You know, maybe a principal from a high school is going to have me develop their whole high school education plan. Probably not. But you know what? I just want to put that out there. And I think we need to find the time to stop training people once in a while and really just think about the science and the business of why we got into this in the first place and get that information out there, no matter who you are. And the more of us that do that, and we shouldn't resign ourselves to the fact that, well, nobody knows who I am. Just by presenting it really well and really thought out, because we know things that no one else knows. We're reading things that no one else is reading because everyone's reading men's health and women's health and all that stuff. The message still isn't getting out there. And we all need to be getting that message out there, not just me or Luke, you know, the sole proprietor in their town, you know. Anyway, that's how I started. I don't look at all the stuff that I do as really ways of, I had no idea my virtual was going to happen that way from the podcast, you know. I had no idea, but I did it anyway. I mentioned it, you know, just put it out there. We're better than 99% of the people out there, even the ones that have the glossy videos. So I can even push back on that point, Luke, right? I mean, like, yes, you have the Pelotons of the world and all that really fancy stuff, but there's still, I mean, people ask me about Orange Theory, and I say it's the same thing, different color. You know, they're still putting out the same stuff they've been putting out there for the last 40 years since Jane Fonda. So, like, you know, I don't care how glossy it is and how virtual it is. And it's still, they're still doing, I mean, you look at the mirror advertisements, they're doing lateral raise standing straight up. You know, they're still doing the same shit that we don't want people to do. So, I don't know, there's plenty of information to put out there, and people are going to hear it. People are going to hear it, and they're going to call you. That's what's happened with me. All right, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Al. That was a great speech. And to your point, actually, you know, Luke and DS do great content, absolutely great content, which is, you know, across multiple mediums. And this is not to downplay Luke's point. But I'm just curious, Adam, like, in terms of the number of leads you generated via the podcast, how many of those, and this is my last follow-up, and then Melinda, I promise we'll get to you. But how many of those do you think are in awe of your celebrity and want to train with you personally versus just purchase services through Informed Fitness? Honestly,
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I don't know why they're listening to my podcast. I don't say, hey, you know, do you think I'm famous? They found it. They're not telling me that, you know, they're not telling me that. They're just, they're listening to my podcast. I mean, and we do everything that we all do, right? Hashtag this, hashtag that, and people find these things. It's amazing, right? The whole world can find my podcast. I mean, there's how many people in this world now? I mean, billions, right? There's billions of people, and anyone with an internet connection can actually find it somehow if you just, in a very amateurish way, put hashtags on things. So, you know, it's not I can tell you this, it's not my book anymore, that's for sure. I mean, it's still in print and it still sells a little bit, but I don't think it's that, you know. I just think that, you know.
To clarify what I was saying, Lawrence, I mean, I think everybody listening, I think everyone in our space can do unbelievable virtuals. I just think Adam is one of like 4 names, maybe 3 names, that because the book and because the longevity and because the notoriety, if you're thinking, if you've kind of are like read Body by Science and you've read some of the other stuff and you're thinking, hey, maybe I will hire someone virtually. Like, who's on your dream list, Lawrence? Like, my dream list would be, hey, could Ken Hutchins train me virtually? That'd be pretty cool. Could Adam train me virtually? Fred Hahn is probably on that list. That list starts to drop off pretty quickly. And it's not that Fred or Ken or Adam can give the best workout in that whole space, but they're almost like this legend status that's like, hey, there's novelty to it. It's like that. If I'm going to try this, I want to try it with one of those guys. And I think I'm guaranteed the rest of Adam's staff is awesome. But like, I would be drawn into Adam because I'm like, wow, this would be my one time to actually, you know, do a workout. Like, short of Arthur Jones offering virtual workouts, right? Like these are the names that we would be enticed by if you've followed the story. Now, by the way, forget all of that. If you already have your own client base and they just pivoted to virtual, my clients don't care who Adam is. Like they so I have clients that have read Adam's book, but they know us and they're like, well, let me just pivot from in studio with you guys to a virtual with you guys. So I think Adam's better positioned to get new business because of the celebrity and the story and the history. And I think he should continue to play to it. And Tonal and Mir are not going to be able to compete with that, right? Now, the downside of it is Tonal and Mir have hundreds of millions of dollars of investment that make their products sticky and enticing in other ways that we just don't have. So I guess my original point was Adam should keep playing to the celebrity of Adam.
I agree with that, but I also want to make my point one more time, which is no, he's right. I'm not disagreeing, but like I don't want that to discourage people from making their mark and putting their content out there and presenting themselves as the expert. Because you don't have to have a book or a podcast for people to hear you and for you to be the expert. And nothing stopped me. I mean, I could have not done that either when I first started the business because other people were already doing it.
Yep.
Luke, I don't belong in the same breath as Ken Hutchins, quite honestly, when Luke mentioned those people. I took a page out of Ken's book and I said, wow, he's writing about this. People need to hear about this. So I started writing about it and we should all be writing about it. And let's see what happens, regardless of whether it's going to get you new business or not. I mean, it's just, you got to start somewhere. And if you're operating personally, if you're operating a personal training business, a high intensity training business, you got to be putting content out there. You got to be putting content out there on top of the other marketing that you do, original content. And the good news is in the high intensity world, there's so much good original content. Still, to this day, people still think exercise is good for losing weight. I mean, so there's plenty of room for good content.
A lot of people still need educating right now. I would absolutely 100% agree. No, thank you, Adam. I really value and appreciate your optimism and some of the ideas you've got. It's great stuff. I want to just give Melinda a chance here because we've been focused on this for a bit. Melinda, do you want to give us an update on the virtual situation on your side?
Yeah, I wanted to add to what Adam was saying. When the closures happened, the whole safer at home thing, my husband and I threw ourselves into content creation. So our Strength Shop YouTube channel has babe, did we do 4 new videos? What was it? I don't remember. But we have basically we took blogs that I had already written, because obviously who has time or energy or the lack of stress to sit down and write stuff from scratch. So we took blogs that I had written previously and filmed them, and my husband edited them into videos. And and we threw them up on the YouTube channel. But there's one up there called the 7 Strength Training Sins, and it's all the mistakes people make when they're strength training. But you can easily, anyone can have a YouTube channel. And I find YouTube to be much easier than creating a podcast that I have to have some sort of schedule with, that things have to go up at a certain time. But it's so easy to have a YouTube channel and anyone can do it, and you can show your expertise through your content. I completely agree. And it's something that I've been very focused on in 2020. We're also creating, to talk about virtuals, I never really hit any type of advertising with virtuals. Honestly, there were way too many things for me to worry about as an owner of 2 locations that I just did not have time to do that. I didn't do any virtual training myself. I virtual trained my staff to teach them how to do it, and we all work together to have kind of a cohesive product as far as virtuals go. But then I handed over the virtual clients to them, and I got busy on all the other things like content creation and trying to secure a PPP loan and yada, 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 and getting my business's satellite, certified as satellite locations for this chiropractic for our doctor. So our virtual business right now, I did decrease the price slightly, partly because of the intense online competition. I mean, there's so many different types of workout programs online, and partly because I feel like my studio and our MedX equipment, the studios are awesome. Like, there is a benefit to working on our, I think Adam called it the Rolls Royce of equipment. Like, yeah, our MedX equipment is superior. When I travel and I see a gym that I can use, I would rather not work out on a month of travel than work out on different equipment. And that's just my personal preference. So I did decrease it. And we have a very small percentage of people doing virtuals, and they were all our in-studio clients. We didn't get any new virtual clients. They're people who either don't qualify for physical therapy or don't want to come in for physical therapy, or they're afraid to come in for in-studio. And there's a very high retention rate. So our virtuals are doing well. The people who have been doing them this whole, for the last 6 months are really happy with them. And I think that a couple of them plan to continue them long-term, maybe not return to studio even in 2021. So yeah, I guess that's that's all we're doing with virtuals.
No, that's great. Thank you for the update. And I'm glad to see the questions are flying in. Just a reminder to those who have just joined, actually, you can type a question in the Q&A box or raise a hand and I'll actually allow you to talk. Or you can just type it in the chat, whatever is easiest for you. But thank you all for the virtual update, and it's really interesting to hear the different views and the different sort of tips and strategies that you have to offer. Kire, sorry, I got pronounced your name Kire earlier. Apologies, I'm pretty sure it's Kire if I remember right from our previous conversations. So you got a first question here. So let me just see here. I'll direct this to Luke. Could you speak to promoting our studios as COVID safe and your thoughts on the potentials here over the long term? What does that mean in terms of advertising, promoting that message? Thank you. So Luke, what would you say to that?
Kyrie, I just think you answered the question. I think we should promote as COVID safe. I don't know if we have to say COVID safe. So for us, we're not saying COVID safe, but we are speaking to all the safety elements, and we're constantly trying to position ourselves as a different exercise environment than the rest of studios and boutiques and even larger health clubs. Now, why is this interesting? I was a pretty big advocate for a long time for not being interested in the conversation around the ideal exercise environment, which is classically or historically kind of a high intensity training, super slow thing. And I thought we actually did a disservice to our customers spending too much time talking about that. I thought our customer didn't care. I think over the last 6 months, our customer cares so much more. And so I think we now should up the paid marketing, the paid social around the ideal exercise environment and what that looks like. And whether or not you call it that, or you just start going through one at a time, what does the facility look like? And what are you doing in terms of cleanliness? And what are you doing in terms of social distancing? And how many people are in the studio at one time? And paint that picture. And I mean, you literally can actually have images of what the studio looks like, because people still don't understand what a boutique or studio looks like. I think about all the boutiques and studios in our market and really across so much of the US, they all have more in common with each other than a high intensity training studio does. And so I think we have to visually paint the picture of how safe the studio actually is from an appearance standpoint. And I don't think we should go into data around how we haven't had COVID spikes in our facilities. I don't think that's the message. I think the message is, look at this, look how different it looks. That's what you could come and experience when you come to our studio.
Luke, I'm just curious, do you deliberately not use the actual specific words around COVID, the virus, etc.? Is that because you think a lot of companies are maybe trying to take advantage with their messaging using those buzzwords, or maybe there's something not quite right about that? Like specifically, why do you decide not to use those words?
Yeah, I'm not like morally opposed to it. We just have not done it. And I think it's a couple personal reasons. Is one, I just get COVID fatigue, right? I don't want to constantly say you should come work out with us because we're a COVID safe place. No, I for the last 17 years, I think you should come work out with us because it's an unbelievable workout. So I want to lead with that. And I'm going to talk about all the things that we have done always. None of it's changed. The only thing that's changed is for us is, we're taking temperatures of our staff when they come in, right? But the other things, we've always been incredibly COVID safe. So I want to tell the story that is our story. And by our story, I mean, frankly, everyone that's listening to this, their story is very similar. So I want it to be authentically our story and not coming across as reactive to this is what the COVID environment is. It just happens to be that we're a perfectly positioned solution for what you may have an increased concern around from a COVID standpoint. And
Adam, do you want to comment on how you see that in terms of not that last point, but how you're promoting, Informed Fitness as COVID safe? What are you doing around that at the moment?
I agree. You don't harp necessarily on COVID. Some of the Instagram memes that we created. As a matter of fact, when Luke was just saying that, made me think of some of the memes we came up with. Like we said, we've been social distancing before Governor Cuomo told us we had to. So to Luke's point, we've been doing it all along. And that's the point that I think should be brought home. That all right, oh, good, everyone woke up. Everyone woke up to safety and cleanliness and the ideal exercise environment. Like we've been talking about, like Luke said, we've been talking about the ideal exercise environment since Arthur Jones and Ken Hutchins. But like Luke also said, no one gave a shit. Or about our special cams on our equipment, they probably still don't give a shit like I do. But so we're pointing out what we've done all along. We are putting ourselves out there again, just on our social media and just saying, we're we've been social distancing all this time. It's always been one-on-one, it's always been relatively little contact. We also kind of say, the idea of working out for just 20 minutes is doable, number one, with a mask, by the way. So to answer the question about, can you work out in a mask? I did a short little video of myself working out in a mask saying it's not bad. It's really, because you're doing a set for a minute and a half. You're not on a treadmill for 20, 30, 40 minutes, pushing yourself at a 9, 8, 7-minute mile, right? I mean, you're doing 6 exercises really intensely for a minute and a half, give or take, right? And you can do that in a mask. Not to mention the fact that you're in a location for 20 minutes and you're out of there. So all that speaks to exactly what the CDC is telling us to do. Keep socially distant, don't be in a room too long, wear a mask, wash your hands. So of course they come in, they come out, wash their hands before and after. We even have mouthwash because we saw that mouthwash before and after contact with the virus can actually prevent it from taking hold. So we offer that, for people. And, so, and then again, it's word of mouth. So Luke said something about being, I paraphrase, of course, Luke, and I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, but you said something about being extraordinary. People are going to say, I'm working out in Informed Fitness, and the place is impeccable. It's always been impeccable. And they're serious about it. I feel very safe there. We need people to say, I feel safe at the place I'm working out at. And they are, it's hard.
Yes.
I mean, I compare the personal training gym to a regular gym, the way I compare a sit-down restaurant to a buffet. Sit-down restaurant, you're in control of what your food and who touched your food. A buffet, you don't know who the hell was touching that food at a buffet. So gyms can be as clean as they want, wiping things down from time to time. But you don't know who's just on that last machine, and you don't know who was on that last when you're in a regular gym. So people have that in the back of their mind that it can be as clean as they say it is. People are still doing their own thing. And, you can have a very clean looking buffet table, but it's still a buffet table. And people are still going to, you're still going to have some 7-year-old stick their hand in there. And, I hate buffets, in case you can't tell.
That's really the point here.
That's
Don't
really
take Adam.
Don't go
Don't
to a
take
buffet.
Adam to a buffet when he comes to visit you.
I won't go to a buffet. I will not go to. I'll starve. I guess I'm intermittent fasting today.
Luke, you might want to think. You might want to think about that for Rec 2021. No buffet for Adam.
Got it. Interestingly, there is one high intensity training icon that we all know that actually is obsessed with buffets, and it will surprise you. It's Dr. Wayne Westcott. Almost gets anxiety if you don't take him to a buffet, because he just loves to be able to just eat and eat. I mean, I've seen him start a meal with like 4 full servings of a salad, and that's just the start. I mean, he's very pro buffet. So
good to know. Good to know. Luke, I think you were going to. Sorry, Adam. I'm assuming you finished your point there, but I think Luke was going to chime in at some point.
How am I going to follow up with that?
I just have to make sure that I say this before we're done with our whole discussion today. I'm around a lot of high intensity training people that frankly have experienced a little bit of depression, and they felt defeated, and this is long. And frankly, it's not just high intensity training, business operators, right? There's a lot of small business, medium-sized business. There's a lot of people that are just really experiencing this where it is just beating them down. And I think one of the biggest messages we have to get out of this that we're just not being reminded of is, as a high intensity training practitioner, we are perfectly positioned based on how we've always done things. We are perfectly positioned based on the need in the marketplace going forward as we get to the other side of this. So we don't have to do any questioning of, man, should I get out of this business? Is this the wrong thing? Is it even worth my time and my effort? Our work has become infinitely more meaningful than ever. And the way we go about that work is resonating more than ever before. So I think we just need to remind ourselves of that, because sometimes I go from call after call with friends and colleagues who are in an utter stage of depression, and I actually think that there's more purpose to our work than ever. And we are, and this sounds like an arrogant statement, we were more right than we ever knew we were. Like everything Adam just said, no one cared the last 15 years about how we did things. And it turns out we were doing it right, and we should continue to do it right and continue to be on the offense in terms of how we think about our businesses. So it's amazing that all the stars have aligned for us to run our businesses well right now. Not all the stars, most of the stars have aligned, and we have to remind ourselves of that.
Thank you, Luke. That was awesome to hear you say that. Melinda, I'm going to circle back to you in a moment about COVID safety, but just while we're on this point and what Luke's saying, Luke, I imagine a question on a lot of people's minds is, but when are we on the other side of it? You've got a great kind of time scale in your head. You talked about the 3 phases that you've explained before on the podcast. And if anyone wants to listen to a great episode on that, Luke did a podcast with me on, it's studio recovery, something around studio recovery. It's within the last sort of 10, 20 podcasts you can listen to. And I'll link it up in the chat to this actually, so people can see that. But I'm just curious, Luke, when are we going to be on the other side of this, in your opinion? And that's such a hard question to answer, but how do you think about that?
Well, I now think that, so I have the same model that I had before, and your listeners can listen to that. I was just having some conversations in the last few days with some of my team. I think a year from right now, things feel so incredibly different. A year from right now. So I don't think early 2021, I don't think after the election cycle in the US that things are suddenly going to return to normal. I think we're looking at a year from right now, early fall 2021, we experienced some dramatic changes, and not overnight, but over time, where we wake up 12 months from now and things are really, really, I hate to say back to normal because they're not back to normal, but we are in a really strong position. Now, if you talk about recessions and downturns in the economy, we have so many leading indicators to say the economy is going to be strong 12 months from now. So I am suggesting two things. I think from a COVID standpoint, we're going to be in a good position 12 months from now. And I think all the leading indicators suggest that we're going to be in a strong position from the broader economy. So we do have a tough road ahead of us the next few months. But to me, I want to make sure that I'm embracing the current situation that we're in. You know, my favorite quote, and I've shared it with you before, is the Marcus Aurelius. The real definition of resilience or flexibility is looking at a given situation and saying, this is exactly what I was looking for. Right. So that's what we have to do. Like, we can't pause our life and say 12 months from now, I'll be happy again and my business will be great. You got to embrace the current situation with having a little bit of forethought to the fact that 12 months from now, things are going to be very different in a positive way.
Thank you, Luke. Awesome. Okay. And I've just posted the link to that Studio Recovery Plan podcast if attendees or panelists are interested in listening to that. Melinda, I'd love to hear what you guys are doing in terms of COVID protocols, making customers feel safe.
I think that people who are with us right now feel safe, probably without protocols. I have an 88-year-old client who's like, this is the safest thing I do. I feel completely safe. And he's like, I'll give you the best testimonial about how safe this is. I don't feel like, so, and that's just without us doing anything. We provide gloves for everybody. I would say 40% use them of the people coming in studio. So not everybody uses them. We have hand sanitizer. We're cleaning the machines after each person, and we are limiting training to one person at a time. There's some clients who feel more comfortable not following another client. So those people are either first thing in the morning or they're after a break in the day. Yeah, I did buy a temperature thing at one point. Didn't work. It was recording everybody's temperature, like, I don't know, 2 degrees lower than an alive human being or something. So I just returned that. Yeah, I don't know, just in general cleaning. I think that as far as advertising, our plan is to we always, with the Strength Shops advertising, always advertise with the positive. I personally hate fear-based marketing. So our marketing is definitely not going to be like, this is COVID safe, because it implies that other things are not, which maybe they aren't, but we would always lead, we are leading with clean, one-on-one, evidence-based, safe. I think our meme that we posted was the safest workout in town just got a whole lot safer. Yeah, that we did a brochure insert. The safest workout in town just got a whole lot safer, because this is why a lot of our clients do it, is that it's so safe. Probably
going to steal that, by the way.
It's okay.
That's what it's all about.
Okay. Have at it. I think to add to what Luke was saying, I think our golden age is a lot sooner than a year, personally. I think when things start to open up and people who would not consider paying for one-on-one personal training or did not see the Strength Shop before COVID will now, see our high intensity businesses as something to try. And I think in the past, the biggest barrier to being the biggest thing since sliced bread was just people giving us a try. I think people look by and they say 20 minutes once a week or 20 minutes twice a week or whatever your advertising is. How does that work? And it takes somebody with a very open mind to go out on a limb, or somebody who has, from the referral, who has, a personal friend who's seen amazing results to go out on a limb and give us a try. Well, I think people are going to be in this climate more likely to give us a try. And when they give us a try, we win them over. So we have a very high retention rate, as I'm assuming most other high intensity businesses do, is that once that person walks through the door, they are ours, and they're probably ours for life unless they move away and then they go to somebody else like Adam Zickerman. If they're moving to New York, that's pretty much how we lose clients, is we refer them to other high intensity training businesses in the city that they're leaving. So once somebody gives us a try, then it's done. And I think that more people are going to be likely to walk through our doors with this climate as soon as things can open up. Because if you think about it, people have been sitting at home, not working out for 6 months. And the people who are coming in to see us at the Strength Shop right now are joking about the COVID-15 or the COVID-20. And they just say the COVID, however many pounds they gained during COVID. And that's a very real thing that people are going to want to turn around pretty quickly.
Yeah, thank you for that. I've got a great question here by a attendant whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce because I'm going to completely butcher it. And I thought this was a really timely question. We've been talking, there's sort of a theme occurring in this conversation, which is, if correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in my interpretation of this, but it's like, look, it's really hard right now, but if you're passionate about what you do and you're passionate about educating people on evidence-based exercise and getting more people doing high-intensity training and helping your clients, then hang in there, because things are about to get a lot better. There are ways now we can generate revenue. I think you guys have all explored some creative solutions, but it certainly looks like things are going to continue to get better and it's going to continue to build. So this attendant's question was around personal vision. And, I think it's really important that we have a strong vision, a strong purpose, strong core values in order to pull us through hard times. And I wanted to kind of start with Adam with this one. Adam, do you have a personal vision? How much of a role has it played in building your business, particularly in these hard times?
We touched on it a little bit. I touched on it a little bit, I think, when, ever since, pretty much ever since I read Ken Hutchins' Super Slow Manual, my vision was to make that information in general, to become general information. Like I was saying earlier about content, and there's so much that we need to be putting out there, because there's still so much dogma. It blows my mind, actually, after all these years since Ken Hutchins and Arthur Jones, really, and Mike Menser and all these pioneers, that we're still where we are as an industry. My vision is, and our vision statement, if you will, the company vision statement is a world or a society where strength is the primary focus of exercise, without undermining your health. And that's still my vision. So, and that's what gets me through now, especially these hard times. Because, you stick to your vision, you stick to your mission, everything you do needs to every decision you make for your business needs to satisfy the goal of that vision and that mission, So when you have that strong conviction of a vision and a mission, it does make things easier to figure out as far as what you do, what actions you take, and that's why no matter what, I'm just going to still just talk about this. And like Luke mentioned, it turns out that we are, we've been right about a lot of these things. And when we talk about the ideal exercise environment, it plays right into the hands of the environment that we're in. So when I talk about my vision and the way people should look at exercise, it's even more relevant right now, more than ever. And just point that out.
Yeah, you're passion just radiates from you, Adam, to be honest with you. It's no, I don't mean to be, cheesy. It's just, it's very infectious. I think I'm not alone in saying that. Luke, I know you're one for leadership and vision. Love to hear how what your personal vision and how you feel that your purpose has really helped you during this time.
Yeah, so when we think about vision or divine vision, it's where are we going and what's important in that journey. And so there's just a few questions that are a part of that, and we've been very much influenced by Traction and Gino Wickman. And there's only a finite number of questions that you have to be able to answer to really get on the same page in terms of your vision. And when you go through something tumultuous like COVID, it's really important to take a step back and say, what's changed in the vision and what's still the same? And so really there's fundamentally 6 questions that we work through that comprise the vision component of the business. And when COVID hit, I understood that we needed to constantly remind our team what's changing and what's staying the same. And almost everything stayed the same. The only thing that changed is what's our 1-year goal, right? Our 1-year financial goal, which is part of our vision, changed. But man, the core purpose, the reason the organization exists, stays the exact same. The BHAG, which is our longest term goal that really just serves the core purpose, that stays the same. All right, our 3-year picture stays the same. The goal that we have 3 years from now, our strategic niche, like where we actually want to make money, the foundation of our strategy, that stays the same. Our core values, that stays the same. That's our reason to fight. Our reason to endure is core values. Like I felt fortunate, it's too strong of a word, but I've been talking about having the reason to fight, the reason to endure. It's not strategy, it's values. Well, I've talked about that for 14 years consecutively. And now we have a chance to actually fight and struggle. And I've been energized and excited every day about waking up to have a reason to struggle and fight around the 4 core values that we've always had. So everything stays the same. The only thing that's changed is what is our 1-year plan? What are we trying to do in terms of revenue? And we've adjusted that. Otherwise, not much has changed. And that's so reassuring. After we stepped back and said, okay, all of these big questions, 5 of the 6 of them stay the same. This is actually not as disruptive as we thought. Now we can start rolling up our sleeves and start going to work on all the different tactics. So now that's our terminology for purpose. Let me just take a quick step back and say, whatever you think purpose or your vision, your mission is, if it's something along the lines of high intensity training and safe strength training and efficient strength training and changing someone's life in the way that we engage in strength training, it's more relevant than ever. I mean, Doug McGuff said it at the Resistance Exercise Conference a year and a half ago. And I keep saying this, and like literally there needs to be a movie around it. He literally said in his keynote, he said, high intensity resistance exercise has a chance to save the world as we know it, because our world, we are one infectious disease away from absolutely taxing the healthcare system, and people are not going to be in shape where they are able to survive something like we experienced. And when he said that, I mean, tears are coming down their eyes. I mean, like people are clapping. I thought this was profound, but I also thought it was, with respect to Doug, I thought it was a little bit of hyperbole. I think it was an overstatement, and I'm like, this is really cool, but I think he overstated it. Apologies to Doug, he did not overstate it. He was like a prophet. He nailed it. Everything that he said actually happened. And I mean, within, obviously less than a year, almost exactly a year, it all happened. It was just brilliant. So the work that we always were passionate about, the work that always mattered, it just matters so much more than we ever could have just dreamed of. And he foreshadowed all of it. It will be a movie. And I think I've said this to you before, Lawrence. The movie will be like, what's the movie? They're in New York City, and it's like there's like climate change. It's like
Day After Tomorrow, isn't it?
Yes, day after tomorrow. That's what it'll be. I don't know who will be cast as Doug McGuff, or who the actor will be, but maybe I would like to be in them. Who will it be?
Yeah, I'm the celebrity, right?
No, actually, it's got to be. It's going to be like
a Dennis Quaid, or he was actually in Day After Tomorrow.
It's going to be like Liam Neeson as it's going to be him.
He's
I'll
too
be
tall.
Mark.
Too tall.
Yes. Okay. Potentially, but again, it doesn't have to be exactly. I'm going to be The Rock is going to be cast as me. So I mean,
Obviously, yeah.
You know,
We might make this movie. That's actually on our vision. My husband's joining me to develop an online component of the Strength Shop. And we've been very focused in developing the Strength Shop into a self-development brand as a whole that doesn't just focus on physical exercise. I am a nutritionist, so we're developing nutrition programs, but also how healthy boundaries and healthy relationships, your financial health, the environment that you live in, all of those things contribute to the health of your body, and they all contribute, and the health of your body is contributing to the quality of your life. But our long-term plan is to make stand-up content, movies, television shows. We actually have a reality television show in the works that teach people through humor how important it is to take care of their bodies.
Love that. Well, I was
I don't
literally
know.
going to come on to that question, Melinda. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to be able to get The Rock in the first couple of videos, or first couple of movies. He might be out of our pay budget.
And
talk about this, Lawrence. We've talked about this on the last podcast. Actually, the first one we did when we were emphasizing strength is health, right? And I don't know if we brought up the McGuff statement at that point, but I think Melinda, you're the one who brought it up as far as, the pitch is see what I'm talking about? Like, to survive this epidemic, you need to be healthy. You can't have these underlying health factors. And I mean, we touched on that. I mean, that's a big selling point when you talk about like how to market, and what kind of strength it's more than vanity, more how you look. It's way more than how you look. And that's a big message that people need to hear, that we're making you stronger, which therefore making you healthier. And of course, like the big picture and well-rounded. And Melinda, I think it's brilliant what you're doing as far as, because it's not just the strength, right? It's lifestyle, it's sleep, it's reducing stress by not having financial problems, and all the things you talked about. I think it's brilliant, and we're just one, strength. High intensity strength training is one piece of the puzzle. It's a big, important piece. And I'm proud to be part of that small piece, but it's a very important piece. And as well as being active, right? When they like to talk about, well, just once a week, you don't mean nothing else. I'm like, no, be active. Run around, do whatever you want. Run a marathon for all I care. It's being active and healthy for all these reasons. You only need to do high intensity strength training once in a while, but outside of that, just live your life, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I should say, Kira has been super active in the chat, and she also cried at that moment when Doug gave the kind of finale to his speech at REC in 2019, wasn't it?
Last one.
I think it was the last one, wasn't it? And there were, last kind of, in-person one. And I think there was multiple people that got emotional because you could tell his passion is so powerful, and
everybody in the audience is, experiencing it.
Yeah.
They're in the trenches every single day, living that, and wishing people would hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to highlight what Luke was saying, Luke talked about, their vision component of EOS, which is Entrepreneur Operating System, when you can learn all about that by reading Traction, which even I use for high intensity business for the website, and then also for the studio we're opening on Friday. I think is an amazing strategy for everyone in attendance to explore as a way to manage your business and give yourself, define your core values, define your purpose. They help drive your decisions. And again, if you want to go back through the podcast and listen to those I've done with Luke, we touch on a lot of Traction and EOS during that. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Okay, so another question here from Kire. Let me just see here. Okay, this is interesting. So she says, our niche industry has so much incredible content. I've wondered for some time if there's a way in this industry that we can work together to promote what we do, how we do it, and why it's so effective. So more collaboration within high intensity training, which I think is a fascinating idea. Luke, do you want to give your view on that? Oh,
Probably would have been
there
less
we go.
interested in it, a year ago. And I think I would have said a year ago, hey, it's up to each individual brand to decide the story that they want to tell. But I've pivoted on that a little bit. As we've gone through all of this, we've seen the large health club operators in the world come back together, and I would say in the U.S. specifically, saying, "Hey, we were looked at as like entertainment. We were looked at as like nightclubs when all this happened. From a legislative standpoint, we just didn't have a state of the table whatsoever." And so we need to start as an entire industry, health club industry, need to come together. So we're looked at as like, I don't want to say essential, but as like we are actually part of this health club continuum. And so if that's going on in the health club world, yes, Kyrie, I totally agree with you. I think we can do it from the high intensity training or evidence-based strength training approach. Absolutely. Where there's some type of recognition around I'm training at a place like this, and it's efficacious, and the brand might be a little bit different, but there's value there. So I totally agree. I think that's one of the things that's emerged in these last 6-7 months.
And
I think that
go ahead, Melinda.
I think our training should 100% be considered essential. Absolutely. It's mind-boggling to me that it's not.
How would you, Melinda, how in relation to Kira's question, do you agree that we should be working together as an industry to try and promote that message? And if so, how do you think we could do that?
I definitely, with the nutrition programs that I'm creating right now, definitely have plans to reach out to Adam, Luke, and some of the other people that I know that have high intensity training businesses, and let them know about the programs that I'm creating, and create affiliate programs for that. So that's one thing that I've had in my head on how we can all come together is, selling the same products, essentially selling our products for you. I mean, if you walk into the strength shops, Adam's book, I have like stacks of Adam's book, I have stacks of Body by Science. Like we should be promoting one another. And especially if there's something that, like, I didn't write a book. So what book do I sell to inform people about what this is? I sell Adam's book. I sell Doug McGuff's book, yeah, I think that I heard somebody tell me recently that the workout we have a filmed workout from like 2011 of Diana, one of my instructors, working me out, and I guess other studios have been using that to show their clients what the workout looks like, what a workout is like. Heck yeah, like I want to do that too, to take other people's content and use it to promote your business. They're doing the same thing that we're doing. We're doing this as well. This is what we do. Especially if it's a business that is more high profile than your own. So I'll, refer people to Adam's podcast. If you have clients that are super interested, in this technique and it's changing their lives, tell them about Adam's podcast.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And then your business. You're expand our reach.
Yeah. Sorry, slight delay there, Melinda. I don't know if that's my side or your side there.
Luke is doing it with his rec conference. I mean, that's a big one. I mean, like,
sorry.
We used to have the super slow,
Yeah.
guild meetings every year.
Yeah.
And then that fizzled out. And then I remember Bo Rayleigh tried to do that, made some very nice ones for a while, actually, a couple of really nice ones. He put a lot of effort into those. And now, of course, Luke has been doing, fantastic job putting that conference together. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, it can branch off of that, really. You know, I don't know. The Super Slow Guild was great because it wasn't affiliated with any business per se. You know, so it makes it appear to be a little bit more independent and objective as opposed to being run by a business like Luke's. It could appear to be a little self-serving, and it is. To his credit, why not benefit from putting in all that effort? So I applaud it anyway. But personally, it doesn't matter to me. But from an industry point of view, to just get people to kind of listen to some stands. The Super Slow Exercise Guild was fantastic idea, and quite honestly, it changed my life. That those conferences and that guild. I mean, I owe my whole career to those, and it'd be nice to have them again. Or I mean, listen, Luke's taking the lead on this. I mean, there's no reason you don't need more. You just need one good one.
I feel silly not recognizing that Luke has made a massive contribution to this when I first asked this question.
Yeah, of course, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. I mean, there's so much more we can do, but it's nice to have a conference that people can attend, but maybe that conference, what the guild used to do, the Super Slow Guild didn't just have a conference every year. I mean, it came out with a newsletter, every month. And it brought in all these experts to write things about all kinds of subjects, and I mean, over time, my trainers all need to read all those bulletins from, I call it bulletins. That's another thing, Arthur Jones bulletins, but I meant the whatever those things were called by the Exercise Guild newsletters, I guess they were. That there's scores of them, years worth of articles written by Drew Bay and Rob Sereno on mechanics and all kinds of things. It was unbelievable source of information. It'd be great if we could maybe continue something like that. I mean, which is why I do what I do. It's, just information, content. But Kiri makes a good point as far as making it more cohesive and more of an industry thing. But we're all busy. Who's going to do this and who's going to do it as an independent thing?
Well, I think it's going back to your original point, Adam. I think that the key maybe is just in really good content creation and then sharing each other's content, which is kind of already happens to an extent, right? I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I'm sure like DS have put out a post at some point on Instagram, let's say, that's just really hits home. And then, a couple of studio owners will reshare or repost this Instagram, isn't it? So they'll repost that image. And it's great because it's kind of win-win. It's like they're not having to create new content. They're sharing content that educates their target market through Instagram. At the same time, maybe there's a watermark, or there's a Discover Strength logo, or whoever's brand on there. So they're kind of promoting them a little bit at the same time. So if we can all be doing that, creating some of our own high level content, but then also promoting each other's and leveraging each other's, that's one way we can continue to push the industry forward.
Yeah. Maybe we just created something here. I mean, all we have to do is create an organization title and name, have it administered, and then we take in, it can be like a journal, and you take in submissions, you talk to different people about what they want to talk about when they want to submit, and we publish it on some kind of regular basis, and you sign up for it. Maybe it's a subscription, maybe it's a paid subscription that, I don't know. I mean, it can go a lot of places. It needs to be administered and marketed, but it would satisfy the independent version. I mean, a lot of different people just contributing to it. You can have all kinds of people contributing to it: nutritionists, scientists. Just the way the guild. It's been done. I mean, the guild. That's exactly what the Super Slow Guild did. I mean, they had writers from all different fields: engineers, doctors. That's how McGuff came on the scene, but that's how he started all this. He came to those, he wrote that great piece on exercise-induced headache and, back in the day. And, led to him writing his first exercise book, and
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
I think the most valuable connection I have to the rest of the high intensity industry is Doug McGuff's like website, the Find Trainers, because I'm constantly setting my leaving clients, people who are moving out of LA, up with different trainers. And that's where I can see like, oh, this person's doing this in San Francisco. And because all of our businesses have different names, it would be interesting to have some sort of recognizable logo that could be posted on websites and studios of, branding us as, I don't know, as a certain type of industry that does high intensity strength training. But yeah, I think just like the awareness of who does what. I mean, all of our there's not a lot of studios that have multiple locations. Like I feel like in my perception of it, the bulk amount of people who do high intensity strength training own like one studio, two studios, or even the trainers that work out of other studios, but they still running their own kind of freelance business. There should be a way where we can know each other virtually, as well as through conferences such as the one that Luke holds. When we have in-person conferences, there's going to be a certain number of people who can't afford to attend those conferences, either because of time or money. So having something set up where people can contribute, I don't know, a main website or something where everybody's business is listed, and it, the articles or the professional contributions that Adam is talking about can be posted for people to see as kind of like a one place where people could go to find a trainer in their area, find a studio in their area, read up about how this type of training affects heart health or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I actually did. I was talking to someone in our industry about creating a directory as like a side project, and it kind of got parked for reasons I can't talk about on this Q&A, but it's also, there's just a lot going on at the time, so it's hard to really execute on it. But I think it's a great idea, Melinda. I think that's an awesome idea, and maybe someone will take that on this Q&A and run with it, perhaps, hopefully. Adam, do you need to shoot off, or?
Yes. I was just about to say that. Yep.
Yeah.
I was waiting for my moment.
Well, look, thank you so much for taking the time. Really grateful for you.
I thought it was an hour and a half, and my schedule.
That's my fault. I wasn't clearer in the communication, so apologies. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Hope anything I said helped somebody.
Oh, I'm sure it
Adam,
did.
great to hear from you, and continued success.
Luke, always a pleasure.
Hi, Adam. I miss you. It's nice to see you.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you.
Take care, Adam. So, guys, I thought we would spend the latter half of this, or last kind of quarter of this Q&A, to kind of talk about the future a little bit in terms of planning and tips and strategies, maybe touching on some of the marketing stuff, because I know everyone always loves marketing tactics. Luke, what are you planning in terms of, looking ahead from now to like into 2021? What's the focus? What are the kind of like key activities that you'll be focusing on, do you think?
I mean, so many of the things are very similar. So we want to have the same communication around what makes the workout different, what makes the brand different, right? We've talked about a lot of those things, and making sure that the visuals are representative of what the studio actually looks like, and that it's a COVID-7 safe place. Okay, so that's a foundation. I think the next thing we have to continue to do is we have to continue to speak to the weed, right? So the weed is the one problem your customer is facing. And if you can talk about how your brand or your company solves that one problem, then you're going to be relevant. And so I think the weed right now might be the need to have a safe exercise environment, for example. So point to that weed and tell stories only about that weed. It's just amazing if you can expose that one weed that you can just grow a massive market share by just thinking about a weed. And it's a problem that people didn't even know how big of a problem it was until you pointed out. But I think most of our consumers are thinking about it. So I think so much of our marketing is geared toward that one specific weed. And then I think we're doing all the normal things. So a little bit of paid search and paid social, and always trying to find ways to maximize the referrals that we're getting from our current customers, and bringing up to them, hey, here's the weed, the problem that we solve. If you know someone's experiencing that problem, we would love to work with them. So it's a lot of the things that we've always done, except that weed has maybe changed a little bit, and we're talking specifically to that weed and that problem.
What can you elaborate on exactly the weed you've been talking to?
I mean, the weed is, we know that you need to exercise in a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
We know that COVID has got you out of your routine, okay, in how you worked out. So here's our solution. So our solution is that we can provide you a safe exercise environment. And by a safe exercise environment, I don't just mean environment. I mean, you can get into a routine of working out and you can do it safely. Because that was the thing that was discombobulated, right? Is how am I going to continue to work out in a way that's seamless and safe and so forth. So that's the weed that we're pointing to and trying to tell stories around.
Awesome. Melinda, what about yourself? And so you've got obviously a lot, very, very ambitious goals in your business, and your brand is obviously bigger than just the high intensity training studio side of things. So what's your plan over the next, the rest of this year and then going into 2021?
As far as marketing,
Go ahead. Sorry.
We're taking things online. My membership portal is going to be done today, I think, and I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
We redid our website, obviously added physical therapy as a service. The focus is we redid our tagline over this COVID period of time. So our tagline for the studios is 20 minutes once a week, a revolution. And the tagline for the business as a whole is be strong, be resilient, be you. So, I'm launching, we're going to launch a membership program probably December 1st. I'm really hoping it's out December 1st. And, I'm hoping, my goal with this is that this new direction that I'm taking will actually be the meat and potatoes of my business, of the strength shop, that the studio revenue will be a very small portion of that. And my husband's an executive producer of reality television. So this reality television show, he has, his idea for that is pretty brilliant. I think it would be very successful. And we want to create, the stand-up and the much larger content to bring attention to, that I think that will drive business into the studios. And certainly I think I'm finishing a master's degree in nutrition right now. And one of the things I discussed with the education director when I was in my interview for the program was that I don't necessarily want to work one-on-one with clients. That's not my goal. My goal is to draw attention to what people need to be doing to take care of themselves. And so it's my hope that some of the programs and content and the films and the stand-up and the things that we put out can be used by other high-intensity business owners or other nutritionists to really be able to teach people what we are not taught in the educational system in, I know, the United States, and I'm assuming pretty much all over the world. I mean, my husband's Dutch, so they didn't really get very good physical education and nutrition education in Holland either. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. No, that's very inspiring, and congratulations on getting this membership site started. It sounds like a pretty exciting project.
It takes a while.
Well, I know how you feel. I have one myself, and it's a lot of work, but well worth it, absolutely. And that'd be some kind of like monthly or annual subscription model, will it? Is that how that will work?
Yeah, it's going to be monthly and for a price break. you could choose to pay annually.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially it's going to be how, I mean, the different topics each month. And as a member, you have access to all of the past topics. And there's an online community, of course, and then support with coaching calls, a couple coaching calls a month, where we, can really answer people's questions. I think, health is taking care of one's body is such an individual experience, biochemical individuality. We are not all the same. And certainly there are things like high intensity training that are good for the human body kind of across the board, because it's something that's very effective and very safe. But as far as, nutritionally speaking, I guess I could speak to that. I have a food allergy to spinach. Everybody's just so different, and you really have to be able, there isn't anyone out there that I know of. And if there is, thank the Lord, we need more, because I'm not out there yet, teaching people how to learn how to take care of their own body. So it's not about blindly following a diet that I predetermine and hand over to you, that includes foods that your body may not tolerate or that you may not enjoy eating, because that's a factor in how we live our lives and the health of our bodies. Do we enjoy our lives? Do we enjoy what we're eating? Do we enjoy working with our body in the studio or in the gym? So it's not about handing over a formula and saying, follow this formula exactly. It's about presenting a topic and teaching people how to explore that topic and find what's right for them, what's appropriate for the body that they live in. And that's really my aim with it.
So it's almost like meta learning, like helping people how to actually learn, like how to explore that in themselves, as you say. And that's super valuable. And I agree fully with what you're saying. It's fascinating how just different we are. And, sometimes I get locked into these relatively dogmatic ways of eating, as Luke will probably know. I'm always reminded in conversations of others that, we're all very different, and there isn't a one size fits all, particularly with nutrition, maybe even exercise to an extent. But yeah, no, I agree very much with what you're saying. What's
interesting is that intermittent fasting is, a huge trend right now. And there's great things about intermittent fasting, but it is also human beings deciding with their mind what their body needs before their body gets to that point. So if I make the decision that I'm going to stop eating at 7:00 and I'm not going to eat until noon the next day, I've made a decision with my mind about what my body needs without listening to my body. It encourages the disconnect from living in your body and actually paying attention to what your actual body needs, not what somebody else tells you your body needs, and not what you determine through thinking about something that sounds really good or that somebody else had, great results with, and putting that on yourself. So we have a lot of clients who are intermittent fast, and I always tell them when they come in, they'll share a struggle, and I'll be like, if you're starving, why are you waiting? Why are you waiting? You're actually ignoring your body's signal at that point. And that's not how to take care of your body. Your body's giving you messages, your body's giving you signals all the time. And it's your opportunity to listen to what your body needs and give it what it needs to function properly.
There's no current additional questions in the queue. So I think this would be a great topic just to end with for the last kind of 15 minutes or so. And Luke, I'd love to hear your view on this. And forgive me, Luke, if this is something that you've explained to me before and I've just forgotten. But you're all about obviously strategic niche, personalized strength training, core of the business. And I hear all the time from HIIT studio owners the biggest problem they encounter from clients, or the most common kind of issue, is weight gain. And to Melinda's point at the start of this live Q&A, people are making jokes about, I put on COVID 20 pounds or whatever. I'm seeing that. I saw it in myself. Thankfully I've lost a lot of the excess weight I put on over this year, but there's a lot of people actually struggling with that. And Luke, I always wonder with your particular target market, I wonder if they're maybe because they're generally quite high performance people, they don't necessarily have a lot of body fat to lose. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just curious how you're dealing with the nutrition question that you're getting from clients at the moment.
Yeah. So we have a very high percentage of clients that have the nutrition question or nutrition issues. Very, very high percentage. But I'm being repetitive here. We've just decided that we're not going to help them answer that question. And we tell them that we're just trying to give you a great workout and really be experts in the great workout. And there's a lot of resources that you can turn to. And we have clients that turn to a whole assortment of different different solutions or resources. Now, you can do what Melinda's doing, and she's trying to capture more of the entire value chain, right? We're consciously deciding not to, and just both are different strategies, and we're choosing the option to stay with strength training, and that's it, and refer anything else out. So it's very important to note that doesn't mean we don't think it's important. It just means we shouldn't do it. The analogy I teach all of our staff, like on day one, is if I walk into Victoria's Secret, which is a women's lingerie, bras and underwear, if I say, hey, I'm looking to buy a shirt and tie as a guy, they're going to say, I'm sorry, sir, we don't sell it. And I'm going to say, well, doesn't a guy need a shirt and tie? And they're going to say, well, yeah, we just don't have to sell it to you. So just because there's a need from a consumer doesn't mean a business has to or should or is wise to try to fill that need. Now, many times, my goodness, yes, it is wise. And we can talk about every business, all of the big companies, and we can say, well, Apple had a great entrance when they decided to launch the iPhone, right? The single most popular consumer item in the history of the world, right? So that was totally new for them and outside of their normal niche, and they decided to do that. Where some other companies have launched phones that were just miserable failures, and that they were companies that were perfectly positioned to be successful. So for us, Lawrence, my long answer shorter, or my short answer not as long. We just decided to stay away from nutrition and continue to stay away from it, besides measuring someone's body fat percentage with a bod pod. And we still have a tremendous amount of people that do that. And frankly, I should lead with this more often, and I don't. We produce absolutely unbelievable results. I mean, we have more body composition change. I love when you have guests on your podcast, Lawrence, and I've heard you say this a million times. Well, you gain most of the muscle that you're going to gain in the first 6 months of strength training. And I've heard, James Steele say that, and I've heard all the people that I respect massively. And then we keep bod pod testing. My mother, who's 71 years old, and she keeps adding muscle at a greater rate than anyone Ellington Darden ever wrote about, right? So I just think maybe we're still scratching the surface on what actually produces results, because we just don't have good long-term data. And I don't believe, if you asked me 5 years ago, I would say, no, I think you add most of the muscle in the first 6 months, and then that's about it. And advanced techniques and other tweaks and nuances don't make a difference. Our bod pod data would say that is absolutely not the case. And it's not the case for someone that's experienced, and it's not the case for someone that's older. So we're continuing to produce really good results in terms of fat loss and in terms of increases in lean weight. So I can't say muscle because that's not what the bod pod measures, but it's
Sure.
Practically muscle.
Awesome. So just a quick follow-up on that. When you do defer people, so when they do ask about fat loss nutrition, which they inevitably do, what do you have a set resources that you send them to then? Like it's organized in that way?
Yeah, we have one go-to resource, but not a massive percentage of our clients go to that one resource. It's a PhD and RD that we refer to. And she works with a decent amount of them, but a lot of times someone knows they want to go to a keto resource, or they want to go to a paleo resource, or they want to go to fill in the blank, whatever the nutrition is popular at the time, whether it's intermittent fasting or whatever it is. And we never fight that. So we say, yeah, go ahead and find a resource that's what they focus in.
Okay. Okay. Melinda, what's your take on this? You know, when you, I mean, obviously you've given your overview in terms of the strategy, the long-term plan, your side, but when you have clients come in at the moment, and I'm guessing this is actually what perhaps really inspires you to go down the sort of master's route in nutrition, but how are you, talk to me about how you currently, respond when clients are asking questions about fat loss in your place?
Well, I started in nutrition.
Okay.
I studied nutrition and I got certified in nutrition kind of like it was essentially the same program I'm in now. I wasn't a matriculating student, and this was in 2000, I don't know, 2004. So it's been a while. So I found high intensity strength training through studying nutrition. And so that's always been my foundation. I was a nutritionist before I opened a studio. So when people come to me with the question of fat loss, you know, I take my time to kind of dispel the usual myths. You know, people will be like, I want to turn this fat right here into muscle. And I'll say, okay, well, actually fat tissue and muscle tissue is two totally different types of tissue. In studio, what we're doing with the weights is we're increasing your muscle mass. So we're increasing the muscle strength, you're growing muscle tissue. That's not going to do anything for your fat tissue other than increase your metabolism so that over time you have a larger calorie deficit if your diet is balanced. So, you know, I just take the time to explain to them relative to what they're asking. You know, like we get a lot of like of the target toning kind of things over time, and you just have to explain to people that's where your body stores fat. So when you lose fat, that's probably going to be the first place it comes from, or it might be the last place it comes from. And, you know, there's a different strategy to that. But as far as when someone comes in with weight loss as a goal or fat loss as a goal, we absolutely are completely honest that we cannot do that for you unless we're working with you nutritionally. And I do work with people nutritionally as a separate service.
Okay, right. Okay, so you have that as a separate item for people.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I started. So it's just something that I've always offered. Yeah, so.
How does that work? Is that like set coaching or consultations?
Yeah, I'll sit down with somebody in maybe an initial intake. They've come in already filling out forms. Usually before they come in with that intake, I like to see at least 3 to 4 days of their diet. I really stress to them, do not change your diet. I need to know what you're eating now, even if it's 4 boxes of M&Ms. You know, like I have to know what our starting point is for us to work together. Typically, my favorite way of doing that is I have them take pictures of what they're eating, because then I see portion sizes and they just text me those pictures or email me those pictures. So I have a good idea of what they're eating. People come to me for all sorts of things, though. It's not just fat loss or weight loss. You know, there'll be, you know, insomnia or gastrointestinal issues. I worked with a Korean man once who, at the end of our journey, we discovered that he's allergic or has a food sensitivity to rice, which is like so weird.
Wow, yeah, especially
But he had all these symptoms, just debilitating symptoms. And it was like trying to figure out what was causing it. Mm-hmm. So people come for different reasons, or maybe to manage a condition. I've had people, our osteoporosis clients will work with me on how to increase bone density nutritionally, how to, you know, complement the strength training nutritionally. And certainly there are different things that somebody can do depending on maybe the nutritional effect of their diet, what maybe their body is not absorbing, whether it's vitamin D or calcium, that is causing, you know, their bones to deteriorate at the rate at which they're deteriorating. So some things require testing. We offer testing. So we have the food sensitivity, food allergy testing that we've offered for years. We have heavy metal testing that we offer. see if somebody has too many heavy metals. They might need a heavy metal detox, and that might be causing a lot of symptoms. So it's just based on what that person needs. But we'll sit down, do an intake, and then it's all small tweaks. So it's essentially a big negotiation. So I know what will, quote unquote, fix this person's problems usually. Sometimes it's more of an experiment for me too. But usually there's things that are obvious that obviously need to change. And so then it just becomes a negotiation with that person into what is possible for them to change, where they feel like this is now my new lifestyle and this is not a diet that I have to torture myself on for X amount of days. It's about a lifestyle change. So sometimes that might be, if somebody's drinking 3 Pepsis, we don't really have this because LA is a different, but this is a good example. If they're drinking 3 Pepsis a day, the strategy might be, okay, do you feel comfortable knocking that down to 1.5? Or would you feel more comfortable drinking half the serving 3 times a day? And then you kind of negotiate with the person and just get them to slowly cut down. Always the strategy is to find the biggest offender in their diet first, try to get them to remove that or decrease that, because once they start feeling better or once they start seeing the weight loss, then they become more motivated. And when they're used to small changes happening over the course of time, then it becomes easier for them to keep making those small changes. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for giving the details on that. So just wrapping up here, Luke, any final thoughts on tips for listeners, studio owners who are, I guess, struggling during these times and maybe mentally or any kind of parting thoughts you've got to inspire the attendants?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's going to be inspirational, but 2 things. One is just a follow-up on what we just talked about. And Lawrence, I just love bringing this up because it seems to fly in the face of what most of our colleagues and contemporaries and even podcast guests talk about. But it's the classic Ellington Darden approach to nutrition, which he has a PhD in nutrition. And he says you should probably eat less food over time. And a guy that we all know, Jim Flanagan, has seen the most dramatic fat loss that I think I've maybe ever witnessed anybody go through since COVID hit. He's lost exactly 1 pound every week. He's down like 35 pounds of fat, and all he's done is exactly eat all the things he loves to eat. He's just controlling his portion size a little bit more. It's just like an Ellington Darden approach. It's more carbohydrate than anything else, and he's now leaner than he was when he was 35 years of age. And of course, he doesn't do any cardio or anything like that. Strength trains about once every 8 to 10 days, and his body composition change is absolutely remarkable. So I just love that, because he was talking to me on the phone last night that he laughs that people actually think that you need to do things like eat all meat or use keto or do all this. Those are not my words. Those are his words, and his change is just incredible. I think it's interesting because he can't understand why people don't do exactly that. So fascinating. But he is just one of the strongest and intense trainees that I know of at any age, still at this, at 73 years of age. So I just wanted to make that comment. I think I would just like to conclude by saying we are in a unbelievable position of strength as a high intensity training studio operator. And I think the most important thing that I can remind people of is connect back to why you're doing this. Connect to the fact that the work is so incredibly important, that we get to every single day try to make money and grow a business and have great marketing and learn about leadership and management and do all of this in the purpose of work that matters. I mean, the work that we're doing altruistically is life-changing work. We're doing the most important work that someone can actually engage in. And so the fact that we are going through a time right now that requires some struggle and requires some endurance and requires some hope and some faith, it is all worth it, because the work that we do matters so much. So that's what I've continued to reconnect myself with, is there's no other work I want to be involved with. I don't want to pivot to a different industry. I don't want to make money in a different way. I want to go deeper in this. And I think there's greater opportunity in this than we've ever seen in the 25 years that people have been making money in high intensity training businesses, we are in a great position right now going forward.
I feel exactly the same way. Melinda, any last thoughts you want to share before we wrap up?
I think Luke covered it. It's just, I think most of us are in this because it's important to us, because it changed our personal health in some way that was very important. And I think that, as a studio owner or operator, that is the biggest, that is the biggest payback in doing this type of thing, is being able to pass that change on to other people. And if you keep focusing on that, it's needed more than ever. And more than ever, we're going to be able to reach our target market, because they're going to be looking for us. And our target market is like anybody with a body. So, they're going to be looking for us right now, especially when these bigger gyms are closing, and they're looking for something that's safe, and they're looking for something that's effective. It's the golden age, I think.
Yeah, well, no, I really appreciate the optimistic end notes from both of you. To everyone in attendance, this will be published on the public podcast, episode 293. So if you want to re-listen to it later, look out for that. And obviously there'll be show notes to accompany the episode. Melinda, Luke, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
I'm very grateful for you both taking 2 hours from your day. I know it's a lot of time. You both shared such great information. Really am pleased of how this has turned out. And thank you to everyone who's attended. I really appreciate you supporting this. Hopefully you've derived a lot of value. I sure have. I'm super inspired. And I'm going to be doubling down after this. So I'm feeling good. So I wish you both all the best for the rest of 2020. Luke, I'm sure I'll probably speak to you next week and beyond. And the same to all everyone in attendance. I think we all need to pull together. Everyone listening, if you need support, Luke was saying there about how he's had a fair few high intensity training studio owners reach out with challenges. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, my email is lawrence@highintensitybusiness.com. Always happy to help. That's a good point. Kira's just mentioned rec. There's a virtual rec, isn't there, Luke, in November, which is
we're coming
tickets
up
of a sale. Do you want to
quick.
just touch on that?
Yeah, you can go to resistanceexerciseconference.com. It's end of November. It's all day Saturday. It's going to be interactive. We're going to get tours from people's studios. We have great keynotes, presentations. It is going to be the most affordable rec of all time and incredibly interactive. And we would love to have people join us at the end of November.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm signed up for that. I can't wait, actually. That's going to be awesome. And just the last thing I'll say, I literally just had my website upgraded. It's still a little bit of work to do, but I think it's a massive improvement from the homemade version I did have. So go check it out, highintensitybusiness.com, guys. There's a new feature, though, that you can actually record a voice message and ask me any questions or topics. So that might be a good way for you all to share your concerns or future topics you want me to address on Q&As like this or future content. And plus I need to see if it actually works as well, so I appreciate you testing it out. So with that said, thank you to both panelists, and thank you to everyone in attendance, and I wish you all the best. Take care.